Welcome to another podcast. In this podcast, we want to focus on division. Most of you are familiar with how to do a division problem like this and can get your answer quite easily. But you need to recognize that this box or house is really not a division symbol. The division symbol is the line with the two dots over it. So this is 27 divided by 5. This is just a process of how we get that. But in algebra, we leave both of these behind and go to a third symbol. This symbol you are already familiar with, but probably do not recognize it as division. Let's do a simple problem. If you have $1 and you want to divide it between two people, how much do you each get? Of course, a half a dollar. Now you see the answer? Do you recognize the problem in it? 1 divided by 2 is 1/2. You see, when you write a division problem as a fraction, you get the answer immediately. The fraction bar is the new division symbol. Let's try a second problem. What if I have 2 pizzas and I divide it between 3 people? How much do they each get? Write it as a fraction. 2 divided by 3 is 2/3. Each person gets 2/3 of a pizza when you divide 2 divided by 3. Too bad they didn't teach you this earlier in school. So when you get a problem like 5 divided by 9, you simply could have written 5 divided by 9, or 5/9. You see, the problem is the answer. But from now on, we're going to be using the fraction bar as the division symbol, and it'll come handy and useful as we go on. Now let's consider a problem that's algebraic. What if I have x divided by -3 equals 5? How would I solve for x? This really means take a number and divide it by 3. Well, how could you get back to the x? How could you undo dividing by 3? Well, the inverse operation of dividing by -3 is to multiply. So I'm going to multiply this side by -3. So -3 times divided by -3 is 1. And so on this side, I'm going to get an x. But if I've multiplied by -3 on one side, I have to multiply by -3 on the other also, and that would give me -15. So my answer is -15. All I need to do is use the inverse operation. Let's do one last problem. In this problem, we'll have 12 divided by x equals -6. This is a little different because the x is on the bottom, but I followed the same problem. I have a number and I divide it by x. How do I get rid of dividing by x? I use the inverse operation. The opposite of dividing is to multiply, so I'm going to multiply by x. If I multiply one side by x, I have to multiply the other side by x. Now x divided by x is 1. So there's the big 1, and I get 1/12. So 12 equals -6x. Now this side says take -6 and multiply it by x. How do I undo multiplying by x? I use the inverse operation. I divide by -6. If I divide one side by -6, I divide the other side by -6. On this side, -6 divided by -6 is 1. So I end up with x. On the other side, if I take 12 and divide it by -6, I end up 2 divided by 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2, and I have a negative. So I have -2x.